Feminists, women love Eminem. Chicka, 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 Slim Shady. I'm sick of him. Hey. So Dave Tonks just came into the studio today and he's got a big show this weekend from Pennyweight Rising. He's releasing his second album. I was on the first one playing rhythm guitar. And it's a big show this weekend. If you've ever put a show together, you'll understand the stress. But if you haven't, you probably have no idea. So just think of that. Inviting all the people you know to come and hear you play your brand new songs that you made up in your bedroom. And they're going to judge you. Have a think of that, punter. So you have to congratulate people that are doing something to colour your world. So, Dave Tonks, Pennyweight Rising. Over to you, boys. Oh, yes. Wow. Dave Tonks, what are you doing down this way of Currumbin on a Monday afternoon?
Oh, just trying to get out of the office.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're in Tweed Heads.
I am in Tweed Heads.
Are you in, you don't have to say where you work necessarily, but are you in that dodgy part of Tweed Heads? You know, that street that's, for some reason, will always stay rough?
Right around the corner.
Yeah?
Right around the corner.
Don't you reckon it's weird about Tweed Heads that it's the most beautiful place, but for some reason I've been hanging around there for 30 years almost, and it's still exactly the same place.
There was it is, but there was an iconic musician from Melbourne in one of Australia's most famous bands who hit me up on MySpace one day, because back when MySpace was cool, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm on MySpace and I've got this and I've got that contact. Well, I had this band, and the songwriter and bass player from the band, I won't name names, he came back to me with a comment saying, there's a really cool cafe in Tweed Heads that sells wonderful stuff, as you can imagine what it is. So,
true.
Yeah, true.
Really?
True.
Recently?
I was like, personally to me, I'm like...
What, like under-the-counter stuff?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, well, stuff that you'd find up the back alley off of that dodgy street.
Wow, it's the same.
But that was cool. To me, that was cool. It was kind of like, ooh, contact,
I remember we all went to school with Grant Fitzpatrick. We actually drove all the way from Rochedale in Brisbane in the combi I had then, drove all the way to... I feel awkward saying this.
That's all right. That's right. She's fine.
Your daughter over there, who's, anyway, but...
It's rock and roll.
We drove... this is how stupid we were at the end of high school. We drove all the way in my combi, and an hour and 15 minutes back in the day to get to the bookshop, the adult bookshop that was across the border.
Yep.
Just to walk in there and go, whoa.
There's two of
them. Look at that stuff.
Two of them in the street.
And I remember he bought a couple of stupid books that ended up floating around for 5 years, man.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things have changed.
They have longevity, those
changed.
books.
Huh?
They have a lot of longevity, those books.
Yeah. We actually had a band room then. We were in the band called The Class Dismissed. We cut out... It was so stupid, man. It was underneath my mum and dad's house. We cut out all those pages from that book and stuck them all over the walls.
Yeah.
Just the best. I'm not the... Oh, it's so horrible.
Crazy.
Hey, mate. You got a big show this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, not too big, but it's big enough in what I want it for.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking size or... I'm talking mental.
Mentally, yes. Mentally, it's a big step out. This is pretty raw. This is really exposing my soul in songwriting. It's so much that you can say, well, if people listen to the song that you've written and they get it, wow. They got it. But then so much interpretation comes into how people hear your songs. They will interpret it a certain way. They will actually see themselves and part of their life in your song. But to actually hear the song and maybe before or after, whichever way I do it on the night, as people will see, to explain where that song came from, what that song actually means to you, to then be able to go away after the album's done and listen to those songs and go, I know what he was thinking. I know. I can hear that in his voice. I can hear that in that that piece of music that, wow, you know, I was there the night he told me where that happened. Now, like I've said, you know, several times on posting stuff on Facebook and whatever, you know, this is one night only. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to sit down in this in-depth sort of environment and say, this is what I felt when I was walking around Wickham Terrace in Brisbane and this line came to me or this song came to me. What brought about this particular track, you know, so there's a lot of heart and soul in it, and it really is a big step out. But that's what I feel my closest people, I want them to hear. So.
Yeah, well, why is it going to be the last? Why can't you just do it for the rest of your life? I know a guy, I was in a band with him, I'm going to say his name, Chris Cleve. I was in 2 bands. For some reason, he has spent the last, love him as a mate, I've told him this to his face every 5 years. Why, there's some great musicians out there, and artists, full stop, who don't bring out things till the day they die, you know? Well, you get so much fulfillment, like all this pressure you're feeling right now about ticket sales and people are going to hear these things. You've got to do it again. Another few years. Yeah. Why not? And then you'll be respected in the end for like, man, look at this body of work. Clearly this is his bag, baby.
Yeah, we're coming from a different part of the musical, you know, family, really. There's people that can continually do it, but unless you have the support to do it, you can't do it. You know, unless we want to start doing things like, hey, everybody come over to my place on Saturday night for a barbecue and I'm going to pull out the acoustic guitar and I'm going to do this. It's kind of like, okay, well, no, pass. I'm going to go out to the pub. And you try and tell people to come to the pub to watch you play covers and they go, nah, I've got something else to do. So it's a really hard thing. And I'm totally on Chris's wavelength. Like, you know, he keeps doing stuff and legend of a guy. Hey, Cleve, how you going, mate?
He probably won't listen to it.
He probably will. But anyway, he...
That's the thing. I've actually, when it comes to my stuff, I've just learned that it's more satisfying to not ask any of my friends anymore. Like, it's actually it's a cool switch. Like, you know, like in this podcast, I'm actually appealing to the guy that's the truck driver in London, trying to get him listen to an Aussie accent. And it's sort of been a really good thing. Like, now that when I get people I know at the gigs, I'm like, oh, I have this funny, like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, well, happy they're there, but wow, it freaks me out a bit.
That's the funny thing about doing cover gigs, and you actually pull out a few of your original songs. And so many times, even locals down a Wollumbar way and guys down that way, they play their songs and they get more applause for their songs. You know, you can play a classic hit from the 80s that everybody knows and loves, and people just sit there going, oh, yeah. You play your original, and it's, yay.
Yeah, they're like,
yeah, that's all right, on the back. You know. But what do you do? I mean, you can't take a covers gig and turn it into a full original show. You try and push a few here and there, but and when people get right into it, then you think, I really want to do a show of just my stuff. Mm-hmm. Why can't it just be about my stuff? You don't get paid locally to do original gigs. You know, it's kind of like, oh yeah, well, you know, you're just promoting yourself. But you know, but if it's good, but you know, but that still don't want to know about it. So until you hit that other bracket where they go, I've got to have you, then you start seeing something. But you know, not all the...
Well, that's the show itself. I'm talking about the product. You've got this record. I've heard it. It sounds great. You know, there's this album, right? You could keep doing them forever. Seriously.
I probably could.
With some good real lead up that makes you scared and who knows? No one will show up. But that doesn't matter, because in 50 years' time, you've got an album every 3 years that you pumped out, and just playing it, you go, oh man, I remember that time. Oh, you know, and
well, that's the funny thing. Like, in coming here, I listened to the EP that we did, right? Yeah, and the track on there that I always felt, which was kind of like, man, like, you know, what were you thinking writing lyrics like that? was Mr. Wilson. And I listened to the song on the way up here, and I'm going, oh, yeah, I'll think about, have a listen to that. And it's a cool song, man.
Of course it is.
It was a cool song. Like, it may not be everybody's cup of tea. It may not be a hit. But at the end of the day, you listen to that song, wipe away the lyrics, and take the feel of that song and the emotion that we captured in it. There's real emotion in there. Yeah, we created it, but that's the feeling that I was trying to get into that song, and we did it.
Yeah. Well, see, I remember this because, I played rhythm guitar in that album, right? Album tracks, EP, whatever.
Yep.
And I remember you saying a few times openly, talking about the words and this and that. And I remember thinking, I think that's you overthinking. Of course you would, because you're putting your words out there for people to hear.
Oh, yeah.
But me as a listener, rarely do I really listen to the words. I'm just,
You're major critical of your work.
Yeah.
And there's a particular song on this album where, as you know, and I suppose a few people know that I've talked to, there's an internationally renowned musician working on this album who is playing lead guitar on it.
Who?
Mr. David Brown, who people probably wouldn't know name recognition straight away. Say Billy Joel, different story. But he's producing the album, playing guitar, all varieties of guitar on it. I've put what I want on it and then sent it over to him. He's sending stuff back, and, man, it just blows me away. How he can hear something. He'll hear a rhythm track in a different variance.
Yeah.
And he'll put his part on it. Then he'll put fills and he'll put the solos in and stuff like that. But there was one particular song on the album that he's just done recently, and I'd been saying to him, musically, I'd finished. I'll give you a little bit of a taste into the show on Saturday night. Musically, I'd finished writing. I hadn't written anything for such a long time, and I was playing the piano this night at home, and I was thinking to myself, I really can't play like I used to. Where's this? I was never a good piano player, mind you, but what I did know, I was struggling to play. And I sat down and I played and played and played all night, and then I started writing, coming up with songs or an idea for a song. Started playing this song, ended up writing this song. Now, that particular song's not on this album, but excuse me again. What ended up happening that night was I'd closed the piano down, and then Paige, my wife, said to me, she said, why are you stopping? And I said, I sort of quit while I'm ahead. Like, I've written a song that's pretty cool, And she said, but you haven't written in such a long time. Why not write some more? Get it out. While it's there, get it out. And I thought, well, that's really cool. She said, well, it's not like you're offending anybody, and I'm just sitting here watching TV, and the kids are all in bed or whatever. So just write and get it out. So then I started writing this next song, and I thought, okay, well, let's really dig in deep and see what we can find. So my greatest influences were always the Beatles. So I have the trilogy of the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and Billy Joel, the 3 Bs. So being that most of the stuff that I like to cover is the Beach Boys and the Beatles stuff, so probably more so the Beatles, but I really come back to the harmonies of the Beach Boys. So this one particular song that I then started writing, I went, you know what, I'm going to go back to the Beach Boys, and I'm going to write a song like Brian Wilson. Let's see what I can do. Melodically, no, probably not. But with the chords and stuff like that, the chord structures and where it was going, I went to town on it, and so much so I really had to write it down and go over it, and then go, where the hell am I going with this next part? I've gone from here to here. What chord will bring me